and welcome to this edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we have Carlo from Mint. Carlo, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Kieran.
Good to have you here. Obviously, we're doing it by virtual. It's a virtual Trader Talk today, but that's fine because we're still in the midst of COVID. So we're going to have a good discussion today about an area which is often overlooked by the industry, and that's about the planning buying process. And we're here to talk about the streamlining, the inefficiencies of that plan and buying process. And Carlo, before we jump into that pretty meaty topic, just do a quick intro of yourself and the company you're the CEO of.
Sure. I'm Carlo Matteo, I'm CEO and co-founder of Mint. Previously, named as My Intelligence. We started 5 years ago as a DMP, some innovative technology around user ID identification. We evolved into a CDP, but at a certain point in time, we make complete disruptive decision for our company, not look anymore at that space, but looking into another space, which was, in our view, quite interesting, which is the advertising automation. And that's how we created then Mint, which is now product.
Very good. So let's talk about the topic of this Trader Talk, which is the inefficiencies of the plan and buying process. So can you talk us through that that current number of problems, Carlo, and what is sort of really sort of affecting the typical planner buyer on their day-to-day task?
Sure, I'm helping out with the beautiful Gmboard of your Trader Talk show, which is fantastic to draw around. So yes, there is quite a lot of inefficiency that our dear planners and buyers, and actually many other people, thinking about strategy people, specialists and traffickers. There is a lot of inefficiency today. The simple reason is because there is no platform that glue all together. So everything is still very siloed. So, strategists talk to planners, planners talk to campaign managers, but, it's not really that everyone is doing a job all together, right? So everyone is specializing their part. They talk, but they're not really necessarily get together somehow in somewhere. So that's one approach. So you often see that, for example, between especially in big agency, those who do the trafficking and those who do the strategy that maybe don't even meet each other sometimes. So that's one of the issues. Another issue is, of course, that all the information that cuts across those teams, as well as between the teams of the agencies and the clients, are captured into presentations, Excel file. They are into the different platforms each one use, but there is no ability whatsoever to process this information because it's scattered, it's very distributed. So that's another quite an important issue of this planning and buying process. Tied to this, the lack of cross-department communication. If you ask planners if they know exactly what the trafficker does, and vice versa, you most likely have people like with a big question mark in their heads, because they don't really know what other people are doing, because they work on different systems, they work on different platforms and different processes as well. So that's another big inefficiency there. And not to underestimate the time length that today, with the complexity of the multi-channel campaign, is a factor that is really constrained. So, a long time back, there were maybe a couple of media to run. So a media plan was done of 3 lines, and to execution, to start the campaign, it was a matter of a few days. Now, we have seen plan of 120 lines, 40 different players involved. The ability to be fast in the delivery of the campaign becomes an issue because there is no such a velocity anymore, because complexity leads to a more, time length scenarios. And also in the process of setting and creating campaigns, there is a huge dependency on mundane tasks, which are not really at the level of our, the people who work in our industry. We have PhD people, we have, a high degree that maybe just do copy and paste on the platform. So that's another issue also, personal development of our whole industry in a way. And finally, if you think that when you run the media planning and buying process in terms of optimization for our clients, it's always a dependency on who is the person behind that optimization, what is the platform, there is a lot of dependency. So how fast can I get reports back from the various media that I'm using, and how easy can I make decision how to optimize? So all these problems, there's very much dependency to optimize a campaign. I'm not saying in real time, but in a very, let's say, short period of time. So lots of inefficiency today. I would say there are many more, but I would say those are very familiar with everyone, I would say.
Do you think that the task of the planner buyer has become more complicated because that you're just alluding to the fact that there's three, back in the day there might be three lines of the media plan, now there's 40 to 50. I mean, is that complexity sort of reflective of sort of the fragmentation of the piece and how complicated the industry has become?
Yes. I created a formula, maybe it was with a glass of wine, but that was come up with a thinking like, okay, today we're experiencing that due to many different reasons, pandemic included, digital advertising has more budget. It's good, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have more resources. So you have more budget, this point here.
Yeah.
But this is budget. I don't think you can see it. But you have less resources, because you may have the same people, but you have more budget to spend in more activities. So the resources actually are less in a way, okay? And also, let me just put this a bit bigger, because otherwise you don't see. There is also this, complex. This is a complexity. And the complexity is given by the multiple player of the industry that actually showed up in the last 10 years. So we have a lot of different media, a lot of different technologies, a lot of different DSPs, a lot of different players. And the complexity of the ecosystem is also reflected to many other, let's say, platforms, which are not necessarily merely media platforms. I'm talking about attribution system, analytics, you have the ad server, you have DCO, you have many other technologies. So more budget, less resources, multiplied by complexity factor leads to frustration. And frustration doesn't really help companies nor a media agency at all. So the frustration is the inability to do what you would like to do because there is too many stuff, and you don't really spend the right time on doing the more high-level qualitative stuff like strategy, because the campaign becomes too much an operation effort rather than a strategic effort. So there is a big need to kind of like streamlining the complexity, make it simple, make it easy, so that you can unlock time of people to do more strategic thinking.
So you're saying that because of the increased complexity of our space, whether it's programmatic or the digital ecosystem, Facebook, Google, TikTok, all these different channels, that it's become much more sort of hands-on keyboards as opposed to strategic thinking on behalf of the client from an agency point of view. So the agency planner buyer is effectively weighed down with these day-to-day tasks that weren't necessarily part of the brief.
Yes, so there is this element that you just mentioned, which is compromising also sometimes the relationship between the client and the agency, because the client demand both. They demand strong strategy approach as well as fast and precise execution of the campaign, and the demand of more complex and more let's say targeted campaign across all the channel is actually the major breakpoint between a client and an agency today. There is no other. So the transparency, I would say, it's almost past issue. It's becoming a different issue now. Like, how can I do more campaign with the same number of people and more effective? And the problem that we are seeing is that it's not just about time and people. It's also about the data. Okay, so when in our industry we've been talking about data in the last decade, we only refer to one type of data, which was audience data. There is a kind of an equivalence between the word data and the word audience. But in reality, there is a huge amount of data that our client campaign are producing on an everyday that is totally not considered by current platforms, current digital platforms. And those data is what we like to call as, not the tip of the iceberg, which is more the audience type of data. It's more what is underneath the surface of the ocean. We're not talking about users data here. We're talking about campaigns data. It's more like events data, total impression, total clicks, all information about cost like CPA, CPL, CP, whatever. We talk about media mix modeling, but the plan information about your last campaign, the configuration of a setting in campaign in Facebook or in Google or in Amazon or TikTok. So all this information, it's gigantic, by the way. It's much bigger than the user's set of data. It's not considered by anyone. And why? Because initial problem, it's siloed. It's in Excel, it's in presentations, it's in the various platforms, media platform, but it's not in one single place. So on top of the complexity of the process of the media buying, there is also a huge resource of data, which is not factored in our economy.
Yeah. Okay. So how can sort of these more mundane tasks be automated? If you want to free up the time for critical client strategy work, etc., how do you sort of how do you automate some of those tasks? Because like when you put those tasks out, like effectively running media plans, doing ops, all that kind of stuff that really, is a bit of a time suck for most people, let alone a planner buyer who've got other duties. So how do you sort of automate those tasks?
So to automate those tasks, we had to do one thing first. We deconstruct the full process of a campaign. So we kind of understood how it was working between an agency and a client. We cut in different slices and we analyze each step, okay? And we rebuild it as a platform. And so when you start doing a campaign or you create the ad tech environment of a client, that's what we call setup or integration, okay? Is when you decide which player you want to activate in your campaign. So of course there is the usual suspects all the time. You have search, social, but you have media programmatic, you may have different channels, you may have out of home, you have programmatic radio, CCTV. I mean, you have a multiple number of players that you want to integrate. Usually, this part of integrating and setting up platforms at the outset is already there is some complexity with it. We automate the ability to integrate within a platform the connectors between the platform and the user of the platform and the various ad tech and media. So we automate the integration. It's an API integration, it's two-way, so it's absolutely already pre-created. You just don't need to spend any time on that. But let's go into the operation of campaign. So when you start a new campaign, there is one moment in which client is asking, okay, I have this budget, I have this target audience, I have this objective, right? That's typically called a brief or a strategy of the campaign. So this moment is actually a moment that we froze into a module of our platform. It's called, strategy and brief, is where you can start having the first automation and the first introduction of artificial intelligence here as well, is where you can basically, based on the industry and the country of your clients, start creating a media mix based on historical data, for example. That's where we actually start giving a little bit of help to the strategists here, which with a click can understand what would be the ideal media mix for the campaign. Then usually what you do in a typical campaign setup is you start analyzing the audience target and then you start creating the media plan. That's step number 2. It's actually occurring parallel. So, these 2 points are actually all together. And we recreate this environment into our software so that you can start discovering audiences on Facebook, on Google, on Amazon, on many other data, data owner, so that you can help your creation of campaigns through the audience discovery in a simple way in the same platform. And then you can build your plan automatically, because the audience discovery influence the planning. So you would be able to create your media plan with a lot of automation here. All the cost, all the forecast KPI of each layer of your media plan, it's automated here. So there is no lag of time of planners going, oh, what was the price of that sales house last month? I'm going to dig into. So that's time wasted. So you have it here, you create a new line, new player, you have the price, you have the forecast, you have a budget could be allocated by the machine itself. There is a button where it's like a predictive planning functionality, which you can automate the budget allocation across the plan. So you had a question, Kieran.
So yeah, so Carlo, how you, let's talk about how we can sort of automate some of this mundane tasks for planner buyers, because it's interesting you say with the complexity of our marketplace, the fragmentation, it's just increased the workload on the typical planner buyer and sort of is taking them away from their core sort of competency, which is the strategic element of it. So let's talk about how we can automate some of this really mundane day-to-day tasks that really can be automated by workflow and software.
Yeah. So in order to automate the mundane task, we had to first deconstruct the whole process and rebuild it again. And that's what we did with our platform. And we observed that the mundane tasks are really disseminated across all the possible steps of a campaign life cycle, starting from the real beginning, when you set up your accounts, so when you create your ad tech ecosystem, when you decide which player you want to include in your strategy. We actually created a module which is very simple. It's called integration. You can really plug and play with just your account ID. A lot of ad tech platforms, there is no headache as to, oh my God, I need to integrate this platform with the reporting system and so on and so forth. So that's already a starting point where we decided to start our journey. But the journey continues. The first point of contact between the client and the agency, typical, or for also clients to do in-house, which is also our platform is very suitable for. There is a moment in which you start with the strategy, which is typically the brief. So setting the KPI of the brief is sometimes that usually takes time. Our platform is automating the selection of KPI based on objective, time, territory, industry you're working in, and is also offering a media mix model which planners and strategists can start working around. So there is already a help to the strategy and to the planners that happen in the campaign brief. There is also a nice tool here for starting ingesting your creative assets and then automate it across all the rest of the process. But let's get into the core. So audience discovery and planning. So that's where actually you have a lot of mundane tasks, especially in the planning phase. So the ability to create and discover audiences requires time. You need to check based on the audience target that you want, where the audience is available. You need to consult different tools and different models to get your audience discovery done. We actually automate that. So we create connectors with a major platform that owns data like Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc., where you can really look into that data and easily understand where is the target audience and how much the target audience is available for you in that country in that period of time. And together with the audience planning, there is also the media plan. So typically media plan, clients want to have it today, yesterday, and you need to have sometimes because you need to call the sales house, you need to get the prices, you need to start thinking about how much budget will I allocate for each of the line of the plan, you need to do simulation. We automate most of this. So you can easily create a media plan. Most of the information that you collect from the sales house are automated there. You click a button as to do the prediction of budget allocation, and the system allocates the budget for you based on your historical plan, based on the data from all the platform that we integrate. So there is a lot of support, let's say, to the planner by utilizing Mint here in these two models. Then what typically happens, this is a very critical moment. The planner hand over the media plan to the campaign managers and to the specialists. It's an Excel file, there may be mistakes, someone is not copying the right line, someone's putting too much budget or less budget. Oh my God, there is a lot of mundane tasks here. Just copying the plan into different platform, understand the setting. We automated that. We, from a media plan, you move into the campaign setting, you can create campaigns directly into Google, Facebook, DV360 and many other automatically. So we run script. So the people who will look at this configuration of all these, we just need to verify that the configuration is correct. So there is a lot less of mundane work here. Same as to the next step, trafficking. Trafficking is a very mundane and
very mundane.
Very mundane. Naming convention, pushing trackers, it's something that you have people who, have a university degree that spend, 3 days in a row for a big campaign, just doing copy and paste of pixel URL. UTM being created. Okay, we automate the whole thing. We don't need to do it anymore. Need to accept. It's gone. And again, you're going to have a lot of more time to do more strategic thinking on, for example, the attribution model that your clients have been asking you to evolve, but you don't have time because you spend all the time to do configuration of that server. So that's where we automate it. And then when a campaign is live, you need to optimize it. There is optimization going on. Specialists will do the optimization there. And you have a beautiful tool here. It's based on artificial intelligence. It's a recommendation engine, and it helps you to make the change and optimization every day on your live campaign. And so it will tell you how to shift budget. It will tell you how to create different creative assets. Is really, your best friend as a specialist to how to optimize the campaign. And finally, the client is asking you complex reporting. You need to put together.
Did it work?
Exactly. That's the most critical one. Campaign insight. The reporting part. Client wants to have right number, right time, easy to visualize and simple to understand. And that's really, often a very, very long task. So that's really what we automate.
So you've unpacked the problems here around the key sort of pain points of planning buyers. So let's talk about how the Mint platform then addresses these issues, because obviously this is something you guys have been building to address these issues. So let's talk about how Mint works to fix this.
So, Kieran, if you like, the best way instead of me talking is we have a beautiful video. It's really short. If we can have it, that's the best way to describe how Mint.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
Mint simplifies and optimizes every stage of the digital campaign lifecycle with its advertising automation platform. We orchestrate all ad tech platforms and international media with automation and AI to enable the management of cross-channel online campaigns in one single place. To do so, we created 8 simple steps to make your campaign lifecycle smarter and more efficient. Let's get into each one. Just like an app store, the integrations module helps you to discover the best-in-breed technologies and connect your ad tech and media ecosystem with one click. Done? Okay, you can start managing all of your media buying from one interface. Next up is the brief, which allows you to easily outline your strategy, define KPIs, draft your media mix, and budget for each step of the funnel. This will save up to 20% of your current time. Once you've lined up your strategy, build the audience that is relevant to your brand by simply entering a few keywords. To discover in real time where those audiences are available on social, search, and publishers, and automatically activate them in your campaigns in seconds. You will also be able to blend them with your first-party audiences, perfect for your ad targeting in the end of the third-party cookies world. Now, you can start building your media plan by dragging and dropping the media of your choice into the plan and drilling down into each channel and defining your strategy. You can also use the AI-powered predictive planning function to adjust your media mix with one click. Finally, stop with back-and-forth emails, share comments and feedback directly on the platform. All of this to save up to 75% of your current time and reach 99.7% of result prediction accuracy. In the Settings module, you can set up your campaigns in seconds without leaving the interface. Making all the configurations required is an easy job. A blessing for your specialist that will have 20% of her time freed up. Also, ad operations will make your life simple. Automatically manage your ad server or analytics tracking configuration with one click, minimizing human errors and achieving a record of up to 88% of your trafficking time saved. With the Optimization module, simple and clear recommendations will tell you how your campaign should be changed to achieve your objective. And with a simple click, these get set automatically, improving your campaign performance by up to 40% of volume of conversion while drastically reducing their cost. Finally, have a single view into your campaign's goals, progress, and performance through the Insights module. Great dashboards analyze cross-channel trends and channel-specific reports that dive deeper into the details. Stop spending time getting the bulk of your reporting done manually and save up to 95% of your time. Our platform gives back to you the full ownership of your digital spend easily and intelligently. Mint. Change your mint set.
Carlo, thanks for that video. Talk about sort of the overview how the Mint platform works, because that's quite interesting in terms of how you're addressing this, because obviously you've built it from the ground up. You actually have experienced a lot of these problems yourself, because in a former life you did run an agency, so you understand the sort of pain points. So just give us sort of a walkthrough on the platform and how it works itself.
Sure. So basically, the platform is a core, is like an engine, and we built on top 3 different, let's say, layers for different segments of the market. So we have M1, which is the platform for the large enterprise, multinational corporation, big spender. So you can manage it from 500,000 euro, both billions. Then we have created a more simple version for the small companies, which is really a simplified version of it. And we get into even the lowest part of the segment, which is the mobile application, which is really meant for micro businesses. So no matter, we believe a lot in democratization of advertising. So we thought that once we created an automated engine for that use automation and AI to the campaign work, you can really give this to anyone. And in this effort, we created these 3 products. It's very simple to work in and set up. Of course, the M1 platform, it's more complex, of course. So it requires also a little bit of support on our side, but M2 and M3 are mainly self-service, fully self-service from even the shop in the corner. M1 is also self-service, but of course, as it's a collaborative tool, it requires different people to get into the platform, from planners to traffickers to campaign specialists. So it requires a bit more of understanding of the platform itself. But it's very simple to use.
And this platform then takes a lot of that deconstructed problems that you talked about previously, like the planning, insights, the ad ops, all of the things that are a blocker for a lot of planner buyers on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so in two cases, is very efficient, our platform. For those companies who wants to embrace the in-housing, right, type of effort and bringing in technology and ownership, they question whether they should do it. They don't know whether they have the right skill and the right people. It's going to be cost too much to hire an agency in-house. So that our platform helps them to reduce the need of staffing large teams, because many of the things that typically are done as mundane tasks are done by the platform itself. So it's going to be convenient for a company who do in-housing to use our platform. On the other side, companies that are happy to have their media agency to support them, but they are willing to have the agency to support them more on the strategic part and less on the operative part. This is really a benefit, because it's helped the let's say the relationship between the client and agency, but it builds the foundation of what we call the advertising equity. The advertising equity is the ability for a company to start collecting over time all data about their campaigns.
Yeah.
No matter who is the pilot of the car, no matter which is the agency driving the car must be of the client, because the client stratifies data over time on the campaigns, which today are not in the company, are outside. So that's a very important point. We call it really advertising equity, because it helps this is the advertising equity. So to put in together things like all your media mix, all your plans, all the information that you typically have into this kind of layer, like plan, configuration, config, you have KPI, you have cost. So all this information across all the different platform and media gets into your advertising equity, and it's yours, of the company. So like in a CRM, you have your customer data into the CRM. It's a software. When you think about advertising, you don't have a software for you there. Of course, you have a lot of technologies, but there is nothing that collects all the data into a single one. So that's really the concept of advertising equity, and why for us is important. For clients, we want to stabilize those information from now, and of course also the past information for the future. Okay.
I mean, it's workflow, and it's a record of past campaigns, which help to kind of, as a work back, improves the performance of the future campaigns. Brilliant. It's great to see some innovation around that workflow piece on a very, very important part of the industry. Carlo, I want to thank you today for the run through. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No doubt we'll see you in London sometime in the future, so it'll be great to see you.
Super.
And that was Trader Talk TV, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time as well.